Good evening and welcome, ladies and gents, to the final chapter of the NLRL Sunday League, live here on TRTN. I, of course, am Regan Clark, and you join us today from the infamous Green Hell, the Nurburgring. Nestled in Nurburgring, Germany, this iconic venue is today drenched in rainfall as the curtain drops on this fantastic championship. It's demanding 16 turns and 3.199 to just shy of 3.2 miles of FIA Grade 1. It has been the set piece of many an exciting race on and offline, and is the prelude to the mighty Nordschleife today. However, our drivers have been spared the full wrath of the Green Hell, but make no mistake, they are far from out of the woods. We just try and see what's going on with our video capture device. We appear to not be getting any audio out of that. Do bear with us just a moment. Something is a little bit wrong here. We're just going to quickly try a reset of our video, so bear with us just a moment. And there we go. That was only a brief moment there, that didn't hurt at all. Adam Gillenborg ran into some trouble there as we just reset our audio equipment. So we can see Burton and Tidman squaring off in the pit lane. So then, as you can hear, my dog is ever as excited as I am when it comes to this race. It all comes down to this then, ladies and gents. As we scroll around to find the man leading the fray coming into the final round of the championship, Christian Lebay is leading this championship by only 6 points in the front runnings. And the two of Christian Lebay and Carmelo Abate have shared in what has been a legendary championship thus far, but it can only be won by one. He leads by an infinitesimal 6 points ahead of Carmelo Abate. James Mason is far from out of this fight, but he's got a longer way to go than Abate. He's got 36 points if he's ought to make up a championship win today. It would take quite some bad luck out of that front row to take him into the lead. And just before we continue on the subject of our championship fight and everything therein, and getting on towards the end of free practice here in round 8 of the championship, we would like to remind you of the new sponsors of NLRL. Today's coverage of the NLRL Sunday League, I should say, is sponsored by Malwar Transport Incorporated, trucking and oversized cargo logistics specialists of Quebec. If you or someone you know are located in Canada and are looking for an efficient professional transportation brokerage service for your business, visit their website at www.malwar-transport.ca. That's www.malois-transport.ca. We continue on with Lebay here, heading down towards the forward curve here at turn 6 and 7. The number 119 Aston Martin there being let through by Mackenzie Burton in the 212 McLaren. So, as we stay on with Lebay, let's get a rundown of our overall standings. Of course, Lebay, with 331 points, leads by such a finite 6-point margin to Carmelo Abate. James Mason, 36 points behind, is still very much so in the fight. Now, we failed to mention this before, but these two in 4th and 5th, Wesley Kuiper and Noah Haggard, Wesley Kuiper, by the way, having shoved up a few positions there since the last round, are still in the fight by numerical standards, but it's going to take a long way for them to get the championship here in this round. Ben Thomas is in 6th, ahead of Melvin Milliston in 7th. Daniel Richards is in 8th, with Piotr Zabazniak in 9th, rounding out the top 10 in the final round here before the flag drops on what has been an epic saga, is Ben Cheeseman with 168 points. So we'll have another look around the paddock here, as we can see as well some new drivers joining us for this round. I think we can see just heading down into turn 1 was one of them. That's Archie Bowen in the Porsche number 36. He's competed in the K1 Endurance team during the time of the NLRL Console Endurance Series. Now makes his debut drive here in the final round of Season 1 of the Sunday League. Bowen behind the wheel of one of the only Porsche 911s in circulation. We saw there, that was a bit of a contact between himself and that was Harry J. So we just quickly fix our replay right here. We're going to try and fit that to screen, so do bear with us for a moment. There we go. Do bear with us. Normally it can just snap to image size. We were able to fix that in Barcelona, but Obviously, with the new revamp for video quality here on TRTM, we've had to make a few adjustments and a few teething issues here and there. Nonetheless, you can see, so heading out of, that was turn 3 there, and the Mercedes Arena just hit the back end of Harry J's Ferrari. Archie Bowen then back into the pit lane. We'll have a look around then to see where our first times have come in on the timing charts. Hayden Puttock leads the timings in free practice, a 2:04.2. We'll get on to the qualifying predictions as we head into quali in around 3.5 minutes time. Behind him is Christian Lebay, and it's an Aston Martin 1-2-3 at the moment here in free practice, with Hayden Prodger backing them up in third position. He's predicted for a front row in qualifying, so we'll get on to that later on. Harry J having set the 4th fastest time, but 2.7 seconds off, I think, courtesy of that impact he had from Archie Bowen. Wesley Kuiper just heads down to the line here. Let's see what the Dutchman can do, and it's a 2:03.665, so definitely some major performance on the horizon here from the Flying Dutchman, the 111 that has shared in over 50% of all race wins this season. Had it not been for the fact that he didn't race in Austria, and I believe didn't race in round 5 at Indianapolis, Kuiper would have absolutely been in the championship fight today here at Nurburgring. So we'll stay on board then with Wesley Kuiper, making his way down towards, that's the forward curve there, turn 6 and 7. We'll get a full run through during qualifying. But we want to just briefly cover the news, and there is quite a few bits of news to cover. Starting us off then from the World Rally Championship in WRC2, Johan Rossel and co-driver Dunant win the Monte Carlo Rally. It was a very historic finish for the French driver. He was elated at the finish line at the La Boline Vesubie La Pierre Carver power stage, 18 kilometers long, fought all the way to the line there. He is going to share in what has been a fantastic victory. And elsewhere in the WRC, Sebastien Ogier takes a historic 10th Monte Carlo career win alongside co-driver Vincent Lande. And it was a brilliant, brilliant drive. Won the power stage as well against teammate Elfyn Evans by 0.3 seconds. The margin was infinitesimal between the pair at Toyota. Elsewhere in the WRC, it was a maverick drive by Adrian Formeau as he claims a podium on his inaugural drive with Hyundai Shell Mobis. And the last bit of news we have for today actually comes out of the world of IMSA, and this is hot off the plates here. The Porsche number 7 wins the 2025 Daytona 24. The number 7 Porsche, of course, Lawrence Van Thor, Nick Tandy, and Felipe Nasser. It was a brilliant, brilliant drive in that second half of the race there. They were able to take prime advantage of the issues to the chagrin of BMW, who had that pole position. It was very, very well fought. Porsche reigning supreme in Daytona for yet another year running. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. So we stay on board with Kuiper, still holding on to the fastest time. Hayden Prodger, though, challenging on a joint second. This is remarkable stuff. 2 Aston Martin V8 Vantages here, backing up the McLaren by an equal share. Look at that there, of 0.03 of a second. Prodger and Puttock are absolutely level. Never before have I seen that in my time as a commentator. That is brilliant. We're not even on to qualifying yet, but hold on to your hats, because this is going to be a very exciting final quali on our hands. If this is of any harbinger to such events, we've only a few more seconds now before the end of free practice, so we'll go around and check the field here. Wesley Kuiper still holding on to the fastest lap of free practice. A sign of good things to come then for the Dutchman, looking for another pole to win here to make this. I think this is now 5 wins this season. We'll have a look here. This would actually be win number 5. So he won round 1, 3, 6 and 7. And he has absolutely dominated this championship. It is then just a pity that he's going to need quite a miracle here in the last round of the championship if he wants to win the title for himself. He's back in, I think, 4th position in the overall standings. We can, of course, recap the whole season with Kuiper winning in Misano, Louis Baptiste winning in Silverstone, Kuiper winning again in Zolder, Melvin Milliston winning in Austria, Martin van Manen winning in Indianapolis, and Kuiper winning the last 2 races in a row. It has been nothing short of brilliant driving from the 111, and Speaking of wins, we also have it by manufacturer. McLaren has absolutely dominated this championship so far, and it's looking to be another case here with Kuiper's brilliant performance at the end of free practice. We'll see if he can carry that momentum forward in the qualifying. We can see Burton there stopped at the side of the road. The 222 just coming down across the line now. Hayden Prodger goes fastest though at 2:03.012. By Hayden Prodger on his opening season here in NLRL, takes the fastest lap at the end of free practice. Is this a sign of good things to come then from the 222? More to come then as we kick off qualifying. So we'll try and get on board with the car leading the charge here. It's one of our three in the championship fight. And having secured his best finishing position last round in the Nurburgring, it's James Mason. In that 4:13, having a look at the best finishes, he upgraded that from 4th to 3rd in the last round, finally getting a much-deserved podium finish at the Nurburgring. Where will Mason be able to place it now, as he's in the fight for the championship title, but he needs quite a legendary run. If we're taking a look at the scoring chart as well, he's going to need to put quite some distance between himself, Abate, and Lebay if he wants that championship for his own. It's going to be a long, long way before the checkered flag today. Having a look then at our much-awaited qualifying predictions. Now, so I'm told these are out of date. We were unable to get the most recent refresh of data coming into this round, so these times are set to be trumped by quite some way, especially by those predicted up towards the front of the pack here. But at the moment, it's predicted that Wesley Kuiper is on for pole position, having set a time, according to our data, of a 2:04.207. But we have seen times even faster than that, both out of himself and out of Hayden Prodger, who was predicted for second. But I think fate could be turning in the direction of the Brit here for his first pole position of the season. It is looking very, very strong for Aston Martin, and it is looking exceptionally strong for Hayden Prodger. Christian Lebay was predicted for third, ahead of Carmelo Abate, so still giving him the championship lead that he needs. He needs to just finish ahead now of Abate for love nor money. He's got to put as much distance as he can between himself and the Italian if he wants the title here. It could not have come down to an even finer margin if it tried. Archie Bowen is predicted on his first drive with Porsche for a 2:05.397. At the time, that would have been good enough for 5th position. We'll see where that ranks up at the end of qualifying. We're actually going to go on board with Bowen as he now leads the charge down towards the timing lines here. Will be the first to start a flying lap here at the Nurburgring. The number 36 crosses the line now. We'll stay on board with him as we head down into the Castrol S section, sometimes also called the Yokohama S. This entire area is cut off in the N24 layout, and we're heading into the area that it is cut off from, the Mercedes Arena. It's turns 2 through 5. This is a very claustrophobic sector of the track. We've seen plenty of incidents occur at this area of the track historically. Heading out through turn 3, we've seen side-by-side action. We've seen races made and races lost at this iconic section of the track. So heading now down towards past RTL, down towards turn 6 and 7 at the Ford curve. Continuing on our quali predictions, Bowen predicted for 5th, Cheeseman for 6th, Gillenborg for 7th, Milbank for 8th, Jenkins for 9th, and JK for 10th. But bear in mind that data is, as of right now, severely outmoded and outdated. So for Bowen, it could be even higher for a lot of the people on the grid at the moment. We could be looking at a big mix-up coming into the final quali session of this championship. We'll see what wild cards like Prodger and Bowen can do up against our would-be champions today. We'll see where everything stacks up as the flag drops. If we were to take a look at that championship fight between Lebay and Abate in particular, pulling up our scoring charts there, which just briefly overlaps, it's to prove a point here. If Lebay is to finish behind, and it's more likely than not that he will finish behind Kuiper, just based off of how fast the McLaren has been thus far, if he is to finish in, say, 2nd place, there is nothing that Abate can do. That gap is still going to be too far away. Abate, even if he were to finish in 2nd and Lebay were to finish in 3rd, the gap would be at 1 point at the end of the runnings in round 8, and he would still clinch the championship. So the best possible scenario is one where Abate finishes ahead by 2 or more positions in this round of Lebay For Mason, he's just going to be keeping his head down and clear of trouble. So our first times coming in now. That was out of Archie Bowen, a 2:03.590. James Mason crosses the line next, 2.7 seconds off. 2.5 seconds off is the next car across the line, the 1:69 of Mike Wade. Hayden Puttock in by 1.8 seconds. Harry J by 0.8 seconds. 1.6 seconds to Corey Tidman in the 888. Hayden Prodger goes fastest by 2:03.152 by 0.4 of a second. Get ready, because that's going to happen a few times here. Prodger is on absolute top form coming into this round, and he's going to have quite the challenge ahead of him, courtesy of Wesley Kuiper, who is approaching the line shortly. Bowen second. Abate crosses the line for third. Harry J down to fourth. LeBay in fifth after his first run there. Puttock in seventh. Burton in eighth. See Haggard relegated a position there as Gillenborg crosses the line for 10th position. So Haggard down to 12th, Mason down to 11th, JK down to 13th. We'll see where Kuiper is. He's getting down towards the line very shortly. I think it was an invalidated last lap for the Dutchman, so one more around Nurburgring before we see a time come in. Very tough to say where everything will land at the end of qualifying. We've got a long way before our next rung of times. The next towards the line is the man who started off qualifying today and is still sitting in a very, very comfortable second position. Archie Bowen in the 36 Porsche there, giving us a bit of a slide around bit curve at turn 12 as we head down towards Hatzenbecksborgen at turn 13. An inaugural drive then by the Brit in an unorthodox choice of machinery. Not many people choosing the Porsche these days. I mean, Adam Gillenborg was effectively a solitary drive for Porsche for the greater majority of this championship. Harry J was also one such case that chose the Porsche, but he's dropped that for Italian machinery here, choosing Maranello's finest of the Ferrari 296. It's put him fourth fastest at the moment. We'll see what Bowen can do as he crosses the start-finish line. He puts 3/10 up, but not enough for position on Prodger. The 413 next to cross the line, James Mason crossing for 6th. We'll just quickly see here with Prodger as he's put down a position by Puttock. So Aston Martin dueling in the wet here. They're one of the best cars to be in heavy rain conditions. But Prodger crossing the line, will it be enough for pole? Not on this lap. So Puttock sending a clear message in. We'll see if we can catch on board with Kuiper, who is not too far away from the start-finish line as we speak. Next across the line at the moment is the number 75 Dane JK from 13th position. As he crosses the start-finish line now, remains in 13th. We're on board though with Wesley Kuiper heading down to the line here. Can the Dutchman clinch pole position from Puttock and Prodger? The duo of Astons really putting the McLaren through its paces. Let's see where the cards drop. Across the line we go from 14th up to 2nd, interceding both of them by 9 thousandths of a second of pole position. Things kicking off with a very firm message by Hayden Puttock. I'm done waiting around. I'm starting this from the front. Kuiper, even after a grand lap in that McLaren, is 9 thousandths away off of the Aston Martin. It's one of the very quiet benefits of the Aston V8 Vantage is its supreme manoeuvrability in heavy wet conditions, or heavy rain conditions, I should say. So this has already been an epic start to qualifying. Next to the line then, Archie Bowen heading down through Hatzenbecks. Let's see if we can catch on board then with the 36. At the moment, not looking like an improvement. He's off by about half a second as he rounds Vidal. This is a very tough section of the track indeed. It'll be even tougher with that addition of rain. It's grass on either side as well. You can see catching those left wheels out of turn 15. That nearly got very, very nasty for Archie Bowen. He'll cross the line and right now doesn't look like he's on for an improvement. So we'll go on board with the 413. We'll try and catch on board with him here just at the end of his run of this lap. It's looking like an improvement for James Mason. Crosses the line from 9th, goes 7th. Behind him, the 169 of Mike Wade goes up to 8th. See if we can catch on board that 222. We want to try and catch him right at the end of quali here. Hayden Prodger crosses the line. Pole position, 2:02.882 by Prodger. Bear in mind, we've 11 minutes left to go here. So at the end of that lap, a very firm message sent by Hayden Prodger. Going faster than Puttock. Going faster than Kuiper. Where will that stack up as Kuiper finishes off his lap? He's off by only 1/100th of a second. The margins now 4 thousandths between the two Astons, 100th and 3 thousandths between the Astons and the McLaren. An all-British ensemble for machinery and an all-British front row here in the Nurburgring. What can Kuiper do as he warms up for another lap here to disturb the balance here of what has been a nonetheless imperial drive from Puttock and Prodger and by Aston Martin Racing? This is its bread and butter. They call this car a boat, and they call it for good reason. You can see right now when the water hits the track, this thing glides along with reckless abandon. Currently exiting Dunlop down to the Schumacher S's goes Hayden Prodger, leading this qualifying session by such a narrow gap there. We thought we were taken aback by 9 thousandths earlier in the session. We're at 4 thousandths of a second. The human reaction speed is in and around 1/10 of a second for most people. This is so close, you would never be able to calculate it in time with your own mind. It would take for reflexes inhuman to our own to process such a narrow margin of time. See here, Prodger heading to the line. Ahead of him there is Mike Wade. We'll just catch him at the end of this lap. The Mustang has shown great promise in the last 2 rounds. They're from 9th position, currently crosses the line. Nothing as of yet. Prodger next to the line then. Will it be an extension? Yes, it will, by 1/10 of a second. So the track is definitely improving. It's given Prodger and Puttock the ability to extend their run of things here. Next to the line, the 119, Christian Lebay down in 8th position. Jumps to 5th. He's ahead of Carmelo Abate. Speaking of Abate, not too far away from finishing off their lap. We're next on board with Dane JK in the Mercedes. Right behind him is the number 26 of Carmelo Abate. Can he jump? Yes, he can. To 5th position, so ahead now of Lebay by 1/10 of a second. The 111, though, is catching up. He's out through Vidal. Kuiper very slippy there through turns 14 and 15. What can the Dutchman do here? It has been an all-British front row. We've been expecting some upset from the Dutchman heading down to the line. The 111 throwing the towel in. So what's gone on there? That lap was a dud by the 111. It looked fairly strong up until that point, but it's all come apart at the seams. That's not looking good for Wesley Kuiper. Here's another McLaren on the field. Next up towards the timing line as they head out through Hatzenbeck down towards Vidal is Scott Milbank. So heading down through the Coca-Cola curve, turn 16. It has been a long, long time since we've been here at the Nurburgring GP/GT circuit. A lot of good memories, a lot of bad memories associated with this venue throughout the history of TRTN. And let's see, will history repeat itself, or are we in for another Nurburgring masterclass? Milbank crosses the line then from 10th position. Next to the line is the 36 of Archie Bowen on his inaugural drive in the season, capping off the championship with a brand new driver. Crossing the line still in 4th position, but a very confident position right now for the Porsche. Mike Wade next to the line in that Mustang. Things have been looking very strong so far for the Brit in his late entry to the championship. Crosses the line still in 9th position though. So next on board with the 119, that's Christian Lebay, rounding turn 16. Our current championship leader has got to move heaven and earth here. He's got to find around 1/10 of a second on Abate. He needs to start ahead of the Italian for love nor money. He could care less about the cars in front, but this lap has not been close enough. He needs to find 100th now. So where he thought he found the necessary gap, he's got to find just a little bit more on top. 110% is what's going to be required here for him to start ahead of the Ferrari. Speaking of, here's Carmelo Abate crossing the line. At the end of this lap, could he extend it up into 4th? Crossing the line, no improvement by the 26. Crossing the line just now was the number, and that's the number 99 car. Hayden Puttock goes up to pole position. So that saga is only going to keep going on between these three, Kuiper, Prodger and Puttock. Our top 3 at the moment. It's still an all-British front row and an all-Aston Martin front row, mind you. We could see a very different shade of battle here. Coming into the final round of the championship, Aston Martin have the best car on track for wet conditions. The second best car on the field by consistency is the Ferrari. The McLaren is too far spread for reliable data gathering. The Porsche, same story there. Aston Martin's V12 Vantage only has one car listed in the field. That's Christian Lebay's 119, which is currently, provisionally, third fastest by manufacturer standards. But in the overall standings, he's sixth fastest in this session. Aston Martin Racing, along with ProDrive, have absolutely cooked up a mastery of machinery in the form of the V12 Vantage. So what can Proger do as he makes his way into that middle sector? Patik's making his way out of the Schumacher S's and down towards Bitt and Warsteiner, or Kumo and Bitt, depending on who you ask, turns 11 and 12. These two have shared in what has been a show-stopping performance. Patik and Proger, I believe, were late entries into this championship and have took the competition by storm with Aston Martin Racing. It's the jack of all trades, that Vantage, but the moment the going gets tough, its true colours start to shine as one of the best machines going for wet racing. We're seeing that proven right here and now. You can see James Mason in the trails here of Hayden Patik. Very nearly. What on earth was that? As we saw heading around turn 16. There was a car right alongside him. The camera angle was very, very short there. It was very hard to see what on earth was going on. Just giving you an update. Patik crossing the line 3/10 faster now than Proger. I think that was Daniel Richards, if I'm not mistaken. The 450 BMW. So, next up with Proger heading to Vidal. The 222 challenging for pole position. He's had a few blunder rounds here, getting used to the throes of ACC. Formerly a driver in the WRC and F1 games. Hayden Proger heading to the line then. Will it be pole for the 222? He's actually down to third as Kuiper goes second fastest. He's got to find a single hundredth of a second here on Kuiper. So Wesley Kuiper for the first time is actually under serious siege when it comes to that secure pole position. Bear in mind, 3.5 minutes left to go here in quali. And it has been a magnificent qualifying session. It has been so fantastic in that front three. I'd say even that in that front four, the top two rows of this quali session so far, that we've neglected to pay attention to. All eyes on the third row. Abate and Lebay look to be starting side by side. That gap now has opened to 0.4 of a second. Lebay has got everything riding on the line here for this championship, leads by 6 points. We saw in the last round in Hungaroring, Abate managed to close the gap down by a long, long way, finishing ahead of Lebay at the end of Hungaroring in round 7. Is history going to repeat itself between the pair here? Because all Abate has to do, keep his head down and out of trouble, but that is going to be exceptionally hard. They're further down than either of them would like to be at this stage of their championship fight. Down in 5th and 6th, they've got chaos ahead of them with Bowen, Proger, Kuiper and Patik making our front four. And even further behind them, they've got Harry J, they've got James Mason, Noah Haggard and Mike Wade backing them up to the end of the top 10. So Patik next to the line. Will it be another improvement out of the 99 crossing the line? Not this time around. Wesley Kuiper is heading down towards Hatzenbeck's. On his tail there is the Aston Martin of Hayden Proger. On board with Kuiper. Out of the Vidal chicane, you can see further up ahead of him there, that was the 26, Carmelo Abate was in trouble, as too is Kuiper, and so too look to be Proger as well. All three of them appear to have gone blue on this lap, meaning their laps have been invalidated for track limits. That's got to be mighty unfortunate, especially with the time ticking down here. Kuiper crosses the line, nothing in the bookings there. Same story for Proger, both of them invalidated over the Vidal chicane, the arch nemesis of all lap times here at the Nurburgring. So having a look around, Scott Milbank to the line next from 12th position, crosses the line and stays in 12th. The next car heading towards the line, Adam Gillenborg, is a long way away from the start-finish line, but is the nearest car to it. All the way down in bit curve at turn 12. He heads down to Hatzenbeck's at turn 13. What would otherwise be a flat-out right-hander is one taken with a heavy, heavy sense of precaution by all drivers here. Just absolutely torrential conditions batter this track. Down through Vidal, tiptoeing around turns 14 and 15. Now down to the Coca-Cola curve. Gillenborg's in 15th position at the moment. The Swede looking for a top 10 here to kick off the final round of the championship in the number 18. Down towards the line he goes. Will he find the pace necessary? It was a very conservative lap by Gyllenborg, but not enough. Next then to the line is the man leading qualifying at the moment, Hayden Puttock. That all stealth built Aston Martin there, the black on black number 99, is leading by 0.3 of a second. The tyres, the wet tyres there, the Pirellis on this Aston have absolutely lit up and properly come alive here in the latter half of quali. Heading to the line, will it be an improvement by the 99? Yes, it is, by another 300, not 300, 0.3 of a second, mind you. We're now over half a second away. Having crossed the line from behind him as well was the 888. That was Corey Tidman for 12th position. Next up then is the duo in second and third, Wesley Kuiper and Hayden Prodger. Ahead of them there, Carmelo Abate looked to have invalidated his time, so it won't be another one on the bookings. So we'll see what Kuiper does as he heads out of Coca-Cola Curve. Mind you, we're at the end of qualifying now. These are among the final laps running. Kuiper crosses the line, no improvement. Prodger crosses the line next, no improvement either. So that's come apart of the seams there for them, but it is properly come alive for Hayden Puttock on pole position for the first time in his run of the Sunday League. A brand new pole sitter, a brand new manufacturer to take pole. Aston Martin on the front row. Next to the line, the 119 of Christian Lebay. Can he go ahead of rival Carmelo Abate? No, he can't. He's got Harry J in the middle of both of them now by 1,000th of a second. Speaking of crossing the line, just gone there. That was Bowen. Harry J is actually in the pit lane and is in 6th position. We'll get a full rundown of that grid as what an end to qualifying we've had. Plenty of drama and a surprise twist and turn here. The next driver down to the line at the moment, the number 18 of Adam Gyllenborg, makes his way out of Vidal, is still looking for a top 10 start here. Rounding Coca-Cola Curve he goes. What can Gyllenborg do? The next driver to head to the line would be Corey Tidman in the 888. Gyllenborg crosses the line, no improvement. We'll go on board then with Corey Tidman in the 888 BMW. Shared in an interesting last round in round 7. Sadly came apart at the seams after a drive-through penalty, threw the towel in there on the last lap of that race and got a DNF. Of course, championship standings are of little concern when you've entered this late into the championship. We'll see what Tidman can do in the twilight drive of this championship. Round turn 16 he goes. Is it going to be inside the top 10 for the 888? He's been ambitious so far in his run for the Sunday League. Can he cap things off with a top 10? Just outside there by 0.02 of a second to James Mason in P10. But what a narrow set of margins have governed this qualifying session right up until a showstopper performance by Hayden Puttock to start on that front row. We were denied by only 0.02 of a second and all Aston Martin and all British front row. But Prodger is absolutely not out of this fight against Kuiper and Puttock. I imagine all three of them are going to share in what is going to be a fantastic race. So heavy rain conditions adorn the final grid here. Starting from the back, you can see Ben Cheeseman and Kyle Jenkins, Daniel Richards and Adam Gyllenborg in the row next up. Their 17th and 16th position. Mike Wade there just appearing on screen alongside Dane JK. There for 15th and 14th position. We're hoping the camera keeps panning all the way up to the front row. This is a wonderful sight to behold. They've got a lot to deal with here in the danger zone of things. From 10th all the way down to 18th. It's going to be one of the major crunch zones here this race. Corey Tidman then at the end of qualifying managed to get towards 11th position. He starts ahead of Noah Haggard. Has got quite a packed grid in front and behind him. He'll be looking for a top 10 by the end of this round. Now, as we enter the top 10, James Mason in the 413 to our far right side there. Starts from 10th position. Alongside him is Scott Milbank in the number 44 McLaren, heading down towards the top 8, I should say now, is Christian Lebay, starting from 7th, and to his to his left-hand side, to our right-hand side, is Mackenzie Burton in 8th position. The next row up, starting from 6th position on the right-hand side of your screens, to the left-hand side of the man in 5th, is Harry J on his first drive with Ferrari in this championship. The 56 lines up on 6th position ahead of Lebay, but behind Carmelo Abate. As we get up towards our final 2 rows, they have shared in what has been a brilliant show of performance here by all 4 of these to take what is a fantastic lineup of the front two rows. Archie Bowen on his first drive in the 36 Porsche puts himself in 4th position. Hayden Prodger, on one of his best qualifying performances of the season, is in 3rd position by only 0.02 of a second. And our front row then, ladies and gents, Wesley Kuiper is out of that pole position, and to his surprise, starting from the front is Hayden Puttick. We're on towards our 30-second timer. In a moment's time, we'll be able to go on board with our pole sitter. That is Hayden Puttick to kick off this final race of the championship. What has been hotly contested for the last 8 weeks going of racing here in NLRL and on TRTM. We've been able to cover just about, just under every round. We weren't able to cover, sadly, round 4 of the championship. We were ill on the day. Other than that, we've been with you every step of the way. And you can see rain battering the windscreen of the Aston Martin of Hayden Puttick, starting from pole. Will take us away here in a moment's time. We'll fire up the engine on that Aston Martin as we get on to the start of the formation lap. So pulling away from what is a 18-car grid here in Nurburgring. Puttick has had a brilliant qualifying. It's going to have the world on his shoulders here in inclement weather conditions. Those tyres are going to be ice cold for lap 1. He's going to have Wesley Kuiper and Hayden Prodger breathing down his neck for control of that leading position. But we've seen already the Aston Martin is, of the 3 cars on that front podium positions, the most capable. So for Prodger and Puttick, it could be payday. For Kuiper, he's going to have a lot on his shopping list, as it were, to keep these two at bay. A lot on his plate to deal with. Looking down the field then, Archie Bowen in a very ambitious 4th position. That Porsche is quite some way up. We've seen Porsche struggle in most of the races this season for stability problems, heading into what is definitely the most unstable terrain of the season thus far. Things could get very nasty for Bowen. He'll be looking for a conservative drive to gain decent points and make a name for himself at the end of this championship. It has been already a very great start to his Sunday League career, if this is to be the first we see him again. Tidman and Cheeseman start from the pit lane, so the 114 and the 888 miss out on that formation start. Hayden Prodger then, who has had nasty luck in the last couple of rounds, will find himself in a very precarious spot here. Is in arm's reach to a leading position of this race. He knows how capable the Aston Martin is in the wet. As we head up the Schumacher S's, he is not exactly starved for good company here. He's got that inaugural drive by Bowen at his rear quarter there. Not only that, he's got Harry J interceding, our championship leaders in the fight for the Sunday League Championship. 6 points is what divides it at the moment between Lebay and Abate, to the advantage of Abate at the moment as he leads by position. Lebay 6 points ahead. That could drop down. He's right in the golden zone that he needs him to be right now. 2 positions away. That's all it's going to take for Abate to swing this championship in his favour. Back up then with that front row. Puttick leading us down a Hatzenbeck. One of the fastest sections of the track here, slow to a crawl, as he tries to get some heat in the brakes. There you can see the nose of the Aston Martin dipping down. You see their rear brake lights lighting up as he's slamming down on those brakes, trying to get as much core temperature over those front disc brakes as possible, going down in the heavy braking zone at turn 1, down at the Castrol S and into the Mercedes Arena section where things could get red hot. So down through Vidal. And this is really the crescendo act of what has been a legendary championship here in the NLRL Sunday League. Heading down towards turn 16, the Coca-Cola curve here at the Nurburgring. Watching on board with our pole sitter Hayden Puttick for round 8 of the championship. 18 cars in all, 16 on the grid, 2 from the pit lane. As we get down to the line, without further ado, we're green and racing for the final time in the Sunday League. A grand start by the front row. You can see already side-by-side action between Putic, between Kuiper. You can see Prodger in the background there, looking to have a go towards the inside. He's going to back out of it there, heading down. It's side-by-side with Kuiper and Putic. Kuiper's going to be to the inside, heading to turn 2, but he's had a bad exit of turn 1. Putic will continue to lead then out of turn 2 into the Mercedes Arena section. Kuiper still eyeing up the inside there, but knows he can't go late for it on the brakes too early on here. He's had a few issues in this opening sector before. Is not going to be repeating history by any stretch of the imagination. So Putic leads from Kuiper. Bowen in third, up ahead of Prodger now, having to fight with Carmelo Abate. Tidman in 17th, a stop-go 30-second penalty. He's alongside Ben Cheeseman at the back of the pack. Richards and Gillenborg look to be taking the fight to Haggard ahead of them. Looking around, Mike Wade in 16th position has run into some trouble. There, damage over the nose of that Mustang. Harry J and Adam Gillenborg side by side for 12th position. Harry J has had a disastrous start, was up in that top 6 positions, was interceding the fight between Labay and Abate. Right now, Gillenborg is giving him the business. The 413 has spun around. That's James Mason, one of our championship contenders, has fallen out of favour, spinning out between turns 7 and 8, between Ford and Dunlop. Tidman's catching him up there at the Dunlop curve. Oh my word, it's kicked off into what has been a very dramatic start. Prodger's in 4th now, ahead of Abate. Labay closing in on his championship rival. Bowen ahead into the podium positions. We've had more trouble down the line here as the 56 runs into some trouble here. We're watching with Mike Wade to see what's going on with Harry J. Stopped to the left-hand side of the road there. Didn't exactly catch what the incident was, but you can see a big tangent starting to form in the spread of cars here. There's already a big gap between the front and rear halves of this grid. Things going from bad to worse for a lot of drivers at the moment. Is Ben Cheeseman in a relatively unscathed 114, but he's in 16th position, a far cry of the place he wanted to be as the flag dropped here. The lights went green for the race start. Hayden Prodger then, who was on a very hopeful run in qualifying, has got some work to do up against Archie Bowen in that Porsche. He knows he's just got to keep his head cool here. Points are points. No one can argue with that. But I think he'll be ambitious and go for the podium as any racing driver would. Putic then still leading 0.8 of a second from the McLaren of Wesley Kuiper. Putic on the hunt here to make a name for himself, to be a new race winner. He's got 42 minutes on the chart though to make that happen in the 99. The Aston is pound for pound the best machine in wet conditions. But then you've got to factor in the driver. Wesley Kuiper knows a thing or two about racing in the wet, and he's going to give it what for against Putic. But right now you can see he's already running into some trouble. He's dropped now to nearly a second away from the leading Aston Martin. Bowen is closer now to Kuiper than Kuiper is to Putic. That's not to throw Prodger out of the mix. He's also in closing range to Bowen. We could see a battle between the pair of them very, very shortly. We'll want to get a look down into the midfield. Tidman is in the pit lane from 18th position, serving that stop-go. The 413 has spun again now before the Ford curve. We're just checking around the field to see where our battles are at the moment. Our championship contenders sit at this time in 5th and 6th position. If we want to pull up those scoring charts, we need a 6-point gap to defeat this title lead. At the moment, if Abate finishes 5th and Labay finishes in 6th, it won't be enough. Labay will still win the championship by 3 points. So for Abate, the urgency is absolutely there to get Labay out of his rear view and get up in front of Prodger. But that is no small feat, with Prodger having such a rising star performance as of recent and had a brilliant qualifying to boot. Wesley Kuiper then closing in on Hayden Putic. He had a very good third sector to put him in the strengths here for a battle of first position. He had the fastest lap of the race there on the end of lap 1. A 2:03.845 was legendary in these conditions for Kuiper. He's really pushing that McLaren to every possible inch of parameter that it can be pushed toward. He's up against what he would make the argument is superior machinery for wet racing, but he's giving it what for here. Unorthodox may not always be the bad choice. And for Wesley Kuiper, he's stayed true to McLaren all through this season. It could reward him very, very soon as he's going to keep the pressure on the leading Aston. Speaking of McLarens, here's Mackenzie Burton up in 7th position there ahead of Dane JK and closing on Christian LeBay. Could put a bit of a wrench in the works here for the Canadians' title hopes. Kyle Jenkins down in 16th position there. The 113 has had a bit of trouble on the race start, but looking very clean for damage at the moment on that McLaren. Speaking of McLarens, with McLaren aloft here in this round of the championship, one of the most popular cars going in the world of GT endurance racing and GT sprint racing for that matter, here especially so in the world of esports. Scott Milbank is at the back of the top 10 at the moment, looking to close on Noah Haggard up through the Schumacher S's. The number 44 has got a long way to go here. We're only in the opening 5 or so minutes of racing here. We'll give you an update on the overall runnings in about 4 minutes time when we've clocked just over 10 minutes of racing in. Right now though, you can see that the gap between Bowen and Prodger is closing, and it's closing fast. We're looking at what is the inklings of a battle for P3 from the perspective of the 222. Hayden Prodger is hunting down that Porsche. You can see it's getting all over the shop in the Vidal chicane. Heading through turn 16. 0.5 of a second was the dividing factor. We can see that through thick and thin there, it's jumped to maybe 0.3 of a second. But here is where the Porsche is exceptionally vulnerable. In that last lap, Hayden Prodger was 0.4 of a second faster in the Aston Martin. The Porsche is already starting to flounder here. Bowen is keeping things clean and keeping things calm. You do not want to overdrive a Porsche, even in the dry, let alone in the wet. That is the thought process of the 36 at this time, I imagine. So heading into the arena, 0.4 of a second. So Prodger is closing in. He'll be having his chances for a move up into third, reclaiming his qualifying position, perhaps even by the end of this lap. You can see though, in this middle sector, the Porsche is giving him a very good run for his money here. Running the ragged edge of stability. Archie Bowen is trying to put a block between himself and Hayden Prodger in fourth, with Bowen in third. Turn the volume down on the engines there so you can continue to hear our commentary. I know we've had issues with that before. Up through the Schumacher S as we go. And Bowen's all over the shop. So Prodger could have a look here down into Kumo and Bitt, or Bitt and Warsteiner, depending on who you ask. He's to the outside at turn 11. Where can the Aston go here? Bowen diving to the inside, trying to defend. He's trying everything he can. He's still ahead by the time we get to Bitt. Prodger is right on his tail, though. The Porsche is scrubbing so much time here in the middle and final. Round Hudson Bexley's slipstreaming the Porsche here. This could get very precarious as we head to Vidal. What is Prodger planning? He's at the rear quarter, trying to force something defensive out of Archie Bowen. You can see tiptoeing around the chicane there, turns 14 and 15. Now crescendoing at the hairpin at turn 16. Don't get too friendly with the inside curve. We've seen drivers get spun out there before. So out of turn 16, razor sharp stuff between third and fourth at this time. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. We can see battling going on further down the line. Dane JK's got his hands full with trying to see who that is with him there. Prodger's gone wide though. We've just dodged that almost. Prodger overcooking the brakes on the Aston Martin, heading down into turn 1. You can see he's tried it for the inside there, has run himself out of road. You can see the Aston floundering in the latter half of the run to that corner. So that battle for third has quickly fallen by the wayside. Hayden Prodger has dropped to 5th position. He's got Carmelo Abate for company, and he's actually doing the Italian a grand favour, with Abate now up to 4th and LeBay still in a reluctant 6th position. This might just be the margin he needs. Looking at it here, it is a 6-point gap, so it will go down to a tie if it stays as it is. Do not scratch your eyes, and don't you dare click off this stream. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on what has been a fantastic start to round 8. Looking then, after 10 minutes of racing, at our standing order, Hayden Puttock leads with Aston Martin by 2.1 seconds. It has been brilliant stuff by the Brit in the opening 10 minutes of racing here. Wesley Kuiper is hunting him down for yet another race win in this championship, looking for win number 5. Archie Bowen is in a very confident P3 at the time of recording, but Carmelo Abate would be champion at play here at the moment. Considering positions, it'll go down to a tie and will be calculated on best results on average. It could go into the court of Abate here. He's had plenty of better results in the last couple of rounds. Could be a champion here. Is chasing down Bowen. Proger right on his tail here. He's going to be learning from the mistakes made in that last lap. You can see already is making very good time to Abate. Christian Lebay, our championship leader, by 6 points, is in 6th. Could have his championship at risk here. He needs something to fall into play. He needs Proger to get the move on Abate. He'll be rooting for his fellow Aston Martin heading down to turn 1, though. You can see no side-by-side action this time around from the likes of Proger and Abate. Proger buying his time. He's right on the back of Abate. We'll catch up with him in a moment's time. Further down the line, Mackenzie Burton is in 7th ahead of Scott Milbank. And rounding out our top 10 is Daniel Richards and Dane JK in what has been a brilliant battle so far. JK was up against Richards for the battle of P9. He's now down to 10th. Haggard and Wade on his tail. We want to get a view of this battle, as a matter of fact, just as much as we want to get the battle of Proger v Abate. We'll go down then to the perspective of Dane JK, who is right in the maelstrom of the battle of P9. That Mercedes has got quite a handful in the way of things. The American has a lot of company to his front and rear. Haggard, Wade and Richards all vying for the position he once held. That Mercedes will be very, very ambitious to get 9th back off of Richards at this time. Richards has massively woken up out of his slumber from the race start, is making moves here in the 450 BMW. Down through Ford Curve we go. Right behind him there is Noah Haggard and Mike Wade. All 4 of these drivers sharing in a brilliant, brilliant race so far. JK to the inside though at Dunlop. It's a little bit of contact. Running out through Dunlop. Haggard's trying to follow him through as we head up to the Schumacher S's. It's 2 abreast between Richards and Haggard. Richards is still ahead of the apex as we head around, but they're going into the gravel. So disaster had struck in the fight between, I think that was Richards, and down the line there was Haggard. They're back on the track, but they're down in 11th and 12th. Mike Wade has leapt the pair of them for position. So for Dane JK, he's in a very comfy 9th position right now. Mike Wade has moved up into the back of the top 10. Richards and Haggard on the back foot after only a few corners of battling. We're on with Proger as he hunts down Abate. We'll just quickly stay on board here as we attend to something. The potential battle to be 4th position. We've been teetering in and around that second margin all race, well, I say all race long, ever since he dropped down to 5th. He's been right with Abate. Lebay's rooting for him there, 3 seconds down the field in the V12 Vantage. The V8s have proved themselves proper machinery for this round. Just in the right place at the right time. The Aston is a very favoured choice by new players to the game, and you can definitely see why. It's a jack of all trades, and on its day, it is an absolute brute. Staying on then. Abate went wide, so I think we just missed that there. We were attending to something there in chat. I think we get from the replay here maybe some introspective as to what's gone on. So it's pretty obvious that Abate has gone wide at Dunlop. You can see the Ferrari there picking up the pieces on the apex of... that was down at turn 8, Dunlop. So back up in the 4th returns Hayden Proger, continuing his charge back to where he qualified at the start of this race in 3rd position. We'll catch up with him later on, as it seems to have now fallen into play between the would-be championship rivals. Abate and Labay are now under 2 seconds apart from one another. It has been a rough ride at the moment for Carmelo Abate to try and secure this championship. He's on the back foot still heading into this round, but good performance in the last round and the round before that has put him ever closer to this championship charge against Christian Labay. But that Aston Martin's closing in, and he's in the most vulnerable zone for it now. A straight line is the V12's bread and butter. With that incident accounted for in Dunlop, Labay was 2 seconds faster in that last lap. We can only imagine, though, what on earth is going on in the 119's cockpit there. It's archaic machinery by comparison to the 2024 Ferrari 296. Very few assists in the way of things for older GT3 cars. This is not like its younger brother, the V8 Vantage. The V12 is a very raw, very visceral driving experience. And for Labay, it's mastery of the wet conditions that's keeping him in this fight right now. Any other driver would crumble under such conditions, but he's shown us what for in older machinery all season long. And it has been a brilliant drive that both of these two have shared in equal respects. But as the curtain drops today, it can only be one by one, and we'll see exactly who that is in 29 minutes' time. Wesley Kuiper, 3 seconds away from Hayden Puttock, is quickly having to consider his options in defence against an approaching Archie Bowen. The Dutchman, who has otherwise been on absolutely dominant form all season long, has met his match in the form of Hayden Puttock and has met his match in the form of wet racing here at the Nurburgring as he runs exceptionally wide at Kumo at turn 11. Missing the apex entirely, but he's back onto the racing line there. The forming dry line out of turn 12 at bit. Heading down to Hatzenbeck, so you can see from the onboard, that centre of the road there just sweeps out to the left. It's going to hit over to the right. You can see that dry line where the road gets a little less greasy. All of these drivers will be sticking to that religiously over the course of this race. Deviation from that could spell doom to anyone's racing here today. Burton and JK very close to one another. Dane JK catching up Mackenzie Burton. Mike Wade to the inside. Contact with Dane JK. Oh my word. That was incredibly sudden by Mike Wade. He was in the fight for 3 tenths, I should say, away from Dane JK. Thought he could make the move there. JK gave him the space, but Wade ran out of road. And a turnaround for Dane JK. He's going to be furious. Mike Wade's let him by, but has accidentally invited Kyle Jenkins here up a position as we head around Hatzenbeck's at turn 13. Wade has damage over the nose of that Mustang, even more damage than last time. We've had some problems. That's Burton in the 212, dropping down to 12th after the Vidal chicane. The McLaren now behind Adam Gillenborg and Daniel Richards. Very close in the fight, I should say that. I think something's gone on even worse behind, as I think barely visible there on the right-hand side. He's in at the wall. That's the 212. Mackenzie Burton is in serious trouble. We stay on board with Adam Gillenborg. So we try to piece together what on earth is going on with the 212. In that fight for 10th position at the moment, chasing Daniel Richards ahead of him. This has been already a brilliant first half. Plenty to discuss there. And the championship hangs in an infinitesimal balance. Infinitesimal, I should say. I've been pronouncing that word wrong. New word that I learned recently. Means incredibly small. So we'll catch up with Gillenborg in a little while here, as it appears that that is in a bit of a stalemate between himself and the driver here, Daniel Richards, in the 450 BMW. As we go on board, what looks to be another lively battle at the back of the pack here. Jenkins v Mason v Wade. James Mason making the most now of what is going to be a solemn drive to the finish line here. He's out of that championship hopes from down in 13th position, but is going to give it a very valiant fight all the way to the end. Mike Wade was to the outside of Kyle Jenkins. A big exchange of positions there from 13th down to 15th between all three of these drivers. Heading down to where we saw Wade's incident last lap. No issues this time around. The 212 is in at the pit lane, and it looks to be the end of the road for the 212. Mackenzie Burton is potentially out of this race. This is Noah Haggard ahead of Ben Cheeseman there by 0.9 seconds. Mackenzie Burton, you can see he's in the pit lane, the 212, down in 16th position. You can see K1 Jupiter complaining in chat, 30 seconds unskippable lad, not our control at all. Carmelo Abate then on screen in a comfortable 5th place position right now, but he wants to make another move up. He's still very much so in the danger zone, as it were. Looking at those scoring charts, currently in 5th. If things are to drop as they are with Abate 5th, LeBay 6th, the gap is just not wide enough. LeBay will win the championship by 3 points. You can see it's only a 3-point gap between the scoring values of 5th and 6th position. Things drop massively off as we get towards the back of those top 10 scoring positions. Of course, that carries all the way down to 30th. But we're mostly focused then with the ones everyone is vying for, and that's a top 10. Over the course of this championship, they've shared in brilliant results with LeBay and Abate, yet to have won a race, but having shared a equal respect of good podium results. The pair best finishing position at the moment is second. James Mason, who was also equated to be in that title fight for some time, is in, third in that standings with third. As for that championship fight, there's your gaps. 331 to 325 points is what separates LeBay and Abate. 6 points, nearly nothing between them. Mason down and out of the fight there, down towards the back of the pack. Was 36 points away. It's going to be a larger gap than that when the checkered flag drops today. Here's the other half of that equation then. Christian LeBay, who leads the championship. We'll get a full rundown of the championship standings inside our top 10 just gone now. LeBay leading with 331 points as shown on our graphic earlier, with Abate second, Mason third. Wesley Kuiper, however, could jump a position on Mason here, as he's definitely looking towards that 20-point leap that he needs for a podium at the end of this championship. Noah Haggard is not too far away from him either. A 20-point dividing distance puts him in 5th. Ben Thomas is in 6th position. Melvin Milliston has dropped down to 7th, with Daniel Richards in 18th. Piotr Zawazniak in 9th position with 173 points. And in 10th position, Ben Cheeseman at the final round of the championship. Of course, one more run of points before everything is said and done. Who will be crowned then the champion of the NLRL Sunday League? Time will tell, and time will tell us specifically in 22 minutes 50 seconds. So as we've crossed over 20 minutes into the race, let's get a full rundown here, staying on board with a man in second place and who is bidding for a third place finish in the championship. Wesley Kuiper, the Flying Dutchman in the 111, is second in this race, with Puttock now extending that gap to even beyond 2 seconds. He's 5.6 seconds in that last timing chart up the field. We're just halfway into the race now. Bowen in third, closing on Kuiper, but closing on Bowen, as a matter of fact, is Hayden Prodger. Out of turn 16 there, you can see that gap is closing down fast between the Porsche and the Aston. Carmelo Abate is in 5th. Hopelessly running here from LeBay. At the current standings, like we said, it'll be 3 points in difference. It won't be enough for Abate. It will be enough for LeBay. He'll be hoping for disaster on board the Aston Martin to give him this championship title, or he's hoping for disaster up ahead in the fight for third, with Prodger and Bowen set to clash heads in a moment's time. Down in 7th then is Scott Milbank. Ben Cheeseman in 8th as he rounds Vidal there, hot on his trails. Noah Haggard in 9th. Daniel Richards rounds out that top 10. Adam Gillenborg hot on his trails, along with Dane JK, makes 11th and 12th position. James Mason not too far away, mind you. Following in his trails, Mike Wade, and Kyle Jenkins is in 15th position. 3 DNFs so far. You can see in practice that, I think, came from the likes of Corey Tidman, looking as well, Mackenzie Burton and Harry J. All three of them having backed out of round 8. It was not a grand start for either of those three. I think for Tidman it was also a case where he forgot to put the wet tyres on, hence the pit lane start. So it went from bad to worse for the 888. Same story for the 212. The rear end of the car got very, very sloppy, and we saw him crash into the pit wall in the rear view of Adam Gillenborg not too long ago. So let's go on board with our battle furthest up the order. This is the one at play, the battle of third position. We're watching with the perspective of the newest of the two very late entries to this championship, but nonetheless making remarks of their own here, making their mark on this championship in the closing chapter. Archie Bowen fights Hayden Prodger here. Porsche versus Aston. Two titans of endurance racing meet here as they head down to Vidal, but Prodger goes up to third already. So that battle ends almost the moment it begins. What is Bowen planning here as we head down towards Coca-Cola curve? It almost looked like he rolled over for the Aston to get him by. Heading to turn 16. Nowhere he can go. The massive rear end of that Aston Martin blocking his view. That's one of the strongest parts of the Aston, is just how wide the back end of the car is. Makes for one of the best cars in defensive performance. Same story with that Porsche though. Very wide track width. So either of these two have got the easiest job in-house in defending, but I'm not really sure what happened with Bowen. He just sort of rolled over for Prodger to get up into third. That's much to the chagrin of Carmelo Abate, who was hoping these two would spill over into some proper bloodied touring car-esque side-by-side action. He'll not be getting that this time round. Here's the perspective then, the battle of 10th position. Daniel Richards running from Adam Gillenborg and Dane JK. Less than a second between all three of them through Vidal. There goes Gillenborg, nearly collects Wade. So we see here Richards still leading that fight. JK following. Mason and Wade in 12th and 13th. Gillenborg though down to 14th. A long, long way from the battle of 10th. Staying on board with Daniel Richards, leading the fray into the top 10. The 450 has shared in his own fair share of brilliant battles this season. This is one amongst many to cap off a legendary championship for Richards and for all the drivers he has done battle with over the course of this championship. This is one to remember. Down through the Mercedes Arena section we go. Is a Mercedes on the quarter of the man on screen here. Daniel Richards defending 10th position for love nor money from Dane JK. The American hunting him down for 10th here in the Nurburgring. Down towards turn 6 we go. We're out of RTL. Down towards Ford curve. We've seen a few issues here before. None such this time around. Watching in the rear view, you can see the amount of spray kicked up there over the nose of Dane JK. He's actually steering to the left to try and run him around the outside, side by side. Two front engine German heavyweights here on home soil. Mercedes versus BMW. Things could kick off massively soon. You can see Dane JK is positioning himself for another move down into a heavy braking zone at turns 11 and 12. Kumo and Bit, but he's actually going to be to the outside. He's going to try and use every available inch of the track here. AMG versus M Sport. And not the Ford M Sport. Don't get that mixed up there. Down through Bit at turn 12. Dane JK would have had the line there cut off after the apex. Is riding in the slipstream as we head down through Hatzenbeck's. You can see the ghostly figure of James Mason's Mercedes appearing in frame from the smoke there, like the Undertaker. Heading into the Vidal chicane we go. It's 4 cars in all for the fight of 10th position. Wade, Mason, JK and Richards. Round turn 16 we go. This is absolutely brilliant stuff at the moment. No less than 3 seconds dividing them. All 4 of these drivers properly giving it hells for bells here. The battle of the front engine cars. Ford Performance there backing up the field. 2 Mercs and a BMW for good measure. Clash of the Titans. Full on naval warfare here in the swamped Nurburgring circuit. And round goes Richards then. Turn 3, we can see that Mason and Wade looking to make this two's company for 12th. Focal point, though, is that furthest position up the order. All 4 of these drivers are trying for this position today. The back of those pivotal point scoring positions. Richards is trying everything he can, every trick in the book here to hold off Dane JK, but it seems that the Mercedes arrival to his inside as we head down towards Dunlop is all but inevitable. Will he be able to hold off JK on his charge? Down to the inside, you can see he's already posturing himself for that right-hand side of the track to hold JK off, making him run the long way around before we're at the Schumacher S's. Further down the line, the Mustang getting closer to James Mason. James Mason getting ever closer to Dane JK. This is a proper mix-up here. The quartet of chaos going on at the back of the top 10 here. It is brilliant stuff to cap off this championship. And we're not even up at the front here. I think we can see even further battling going on in third. We can see the triple two and the 26 are incredibly close. Not the triple two and the 26, the triple two and... wait, hang on. We may have to catch up with you in a moment's time. There is someone ever closer to the triple two. It's the triple two and Archie Bowen, the 36. My mistake there. The 26 is Carmelo Abate. So, staying on board with 10th, as this has been proper cinema to watch here today. JK is looking for the inside now at turn 16. He's done waiting. Here comes the Mercedes. Down to turn 16 we go. Dane JK is up into 10th. Richards is down to 11th. Mason is hunting 11th for his own now. It's a full-on train. All aboard the Mercedes Express here under the banner of BMW M-Power. AMG looks to reign supreme in this fight. Down towards turn 1. Mason looks to follow JK through. Now, both Mercs up into turn 1. Mason's gone wide, though, nearly clocking JK. Almost a bit of civil war by the Mercs. Down into the Mercedes Arena section. We crossed under the BMW banners. We're now in Merck's home territory of this circuit. But here comes Mike Wade in the Ford Performance Mustang. So Richards losing out 2 positions. Try not to make this losing out on 3. We'll try absolutely everything here to stave off Mike Wade. This is brilliant, brilliant stuff to behold. Let's see if we can try and get a look around the field to see what is going on in the fight of Proger v Bowen. It's incredibly close there between these two. Bowen only 0.2 of a second out of turn 16 on Proger is in the slipstream. Hayden Proger already posturing to the inside, trying to take a defensive line here. He knows it may be all but too late. The Porsche has better braking distance on the Aston, but just too far away to show us exactly what that looks like. Down through turn 1. Bowen still hunting Proger. We'll catch up with them in a bit. Hayden Puttock has led this race for going on 30 minutes, actually over 30 minutes now, by 9 whole seconds. Aston Martin could take the final available win of this season. Hayden Puttock cementing his name in the Sunday League. Looking at our overall wins this season, he will become, looking at it here, the 5th new driver to have won a race in the Sunday League, joining the likes of Wesley Kuiper, Louis Baptiste, Melvin Milliston and Martijn van Manen. Will make the 2nd British driver to win in the Sunday League, and it will be the first time in the manufacturers' runnings that Aston Martin will take gold. McLaren has been the dominant British manufacturer at play all season long, but good things come to those who wait, and Aston Martin Racing could be having a very grand evening here. Sunday, 26th of January 2025 marks the final race here in Season 1. With 12.5 minutes to go, it's all to play for. Back on board the battle of P3. Now the perspective of the attacking driver. Archie Bowen, on his first drive of the season, is hunting down Hayden Proger, looking to make a statement here with Aston Martin. He's on for a podium at the moment, will be his best finishing result of the season, but is at stake here in the fight for 3rd position against Archie Bowen. The Porsche is a very capable pack fighter on a good day. This is not such a day, but nonetheless, Bowen's giving us a very good demonstration of what Porsche's machine is more than capable of. Stuttgart takes on, I think it's Gaydon Warwickshire, where that car was built, and does all of that in Eiffel. Bowen looks to be diving for the inside here. He's incredibly close to Proger. Down into turn 1. The Aston's run out of road. Is going to try for a switchback at turn 2, though. This is incredible stuff between Proger and Bowen. Proger's to the outside wet line there. Bowen to the dry line. Up into 3rd. Brilliant stuff between these two. But I don't think it's over just yet. Let's throw that battle back on board there, as 0.4 of a second is the dividing factor as we head down to the Ford curve. Round RTL we go. Tiny little straight here before turn 6. Now down to turn 7. You can see, catching a little bit at the far end of the track, Bowen is using every available inch of this FIA Grade 1 to his benefit here. In a car that 1mm out of line is going to go haywire. driving on the ragged edge here. Brilliant stuff by Bowen. Brilliant stuff by Prodger. They've shared in a fantastic fight for the last of those podium positions. We'll catch up with them in a moment's time. We want to take a look around here. The fellow Porsche of Adam Gillenborg making their way around turn 16. They're down in 14th position at the moment, some way away from Daniel Richards. Speaking of, here's Daniel Richards now having dropped the position to Mike Wade. Looking further up the order, there's Mike Wade, and we want to try and find the drivers ahead of them. Mason B. JK, the Mercedes Civil War. Here's the perspective of James Mason. He thought himself out of that championship fight, can still bring this home for a potential podium as we can get inside that top 10. Looking at those point scoring charts there, Wesley Kuiper's in second. I think it may just be too late. I think it's a 30-point gap between 10th and second. It's actually about 27 points there, if I'm not mistaken. Nonetheless, he'll have shared in a brilliant fight in the championship, and crescendoing that has been, whilst he's down on his luck, a brilliant battle with fellow Mercedes, the number 75 of Dane JK. Right now, though, they're just a little too far away to make anything stick. We'll see what happens at the Schumacher S's. 0.4 of a second. JK has had a phenomenal race today. He's kept it very nice and very clean there. You can see the Mercedes free of any major damages that would stifle his performance. The Merc, just like the Aston, of which it shares an engine with, is an absolute juggernaut in the wet. It provides a brilliantly stable drive for some of these drivers here, and you can see that demonstrated with how these two have been able to get elbow deep in fights all throughout this race today. We've dropped below 9 minutes left in the race. The checkered flag looms beyond the horizon here at the Nurburgring. Here in round 8 of the championship. Hayden Prodger, we're on board now with his rounding turn 8, I should say, Dunlop. Right behind Archie Bowen. This could kick off at any second here. Prodger's got the more stable of the two cars, but Bowen's got the more manoeuvrable of the two. That Porsche, despite being as twitchy as it is very solid in the corners. It's got the Aston Martin pinned when it comes to a majority of these corners. We see it chiefly in that middle sector. The Porsche has just so much available grip in the middle. Now as we exit, though, to the final sector is where it starts to struggle a little bit. The high-speed corners is the Achilles heel of the Porsche 911, and that's much to the chagrin of Hayden Prodger. So in that fight for P3, we're still on board with the 222, the Aston Martin of Hayden Prodger, following in the trails of the car in third position ahead of him there. That's Archie Bowen. Round turn 16 we go. Could he be lining himself up for a mimicry of what Bowen tried on him a few laps ago? He might just be a little too far away from it there. The Porsche has good acceleration, but how good can it be up against 4 litres, 2 turbos and 8 cylinders of AMG power under the bonnet of that Aston Martin, heading down towards turn 1. He was right with him there. Right with him, and to the inside as of turn 1. He's had the better of the 2 exits, but that makes it to the inside at turn 2. As we enter the arena, he's much closer in on the dry line than he was in the laps beforehand. Hayden Prodger looking for the inside on Archie Bowen. He's out on the wet line and looks to be up into third position. Brilliant stuff by Aston Martin. These two have shared in a fantastic podium fight. Far from over, though. Let's see if we could go on board with Bowen's perspective. Now the attacking driver of the two. The Porsche is not down and out of this podium fight at all. These two have swapped hands for position for nearly 40 minutes running here. You see, though, the Porsche starting to flag. It's got a very sudden and very quick tyre drop-off. That's one of the major fouling points of the Porsche, is what makes it such a divisive car to use in GT here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Carmelo Abate could be surfing this to his benefit, as if he can open up one more gap that may just give him enough points here for the championship title. 0.4 of a second now. We're looking at the battle of 4th position. Archie Bowen could give Carmelo Abate the championship win here if he keeps floundering behind Hayden Prodger's Aston Martin, but going wide. You saw in the background there, that was the 26. Carmelo Abate has dropped 2.3 seconds to Archie Bowen. The battle for fourth has died along with that run into turns 11 and 12. What on earth is going on then in the fight of Labay and Abate? 5.7 seconds. He's got very little time left to make this stick. Abate is powerless at this time. He's hoping for another big mistake from Bowen, who's pushing that Porsche to its absolute. He needs a mistake out of the car in front of him now. He needs fourth position. Pull up the scoring charts again. He needs fourth. Right now where he's finishing, he'll only have gained 3 points on Christian Labay, who leads the championship by 6. So it will come down to next to nothing as the way it stands right now. He'll either be hoping Labay pushes the car too hard behind him and spins, drops a position to Milbank, who is himself 48 seconds down the road. Or he'll be hoping that Bowen takes himself out. Oh no! It's kicked off even worse for Carmelo Abate. Entering the arena, is spinning. He's going to have to try and get that car moving. There's Christian Labay up into 5th. Nearly up into 5th, I should say there. Now we head out of the arena, now up into 5th. Oh my word, it is kicked off massively in the closing minutes of this championship. Carmelo Abate has dropped time and dropped position to Christian Labay for the championship fight. Never have I ever seen a championship come down to such fine margins. Never have I ever seen it end like this. Labay now holds prime position for that championship. He will be, as it stands, with these positions in 4.5 minutes time. If he can hold off Abate, he will be champion. He will be champion regardless of what Abate does now, so long as he finishes in 6th, Abate in 5th. They are preying on an incident up ahead. Praying now for the points to open up as things look to be closing down in what has been a brilliant championship fight that these two have shared in. 4 minutes left to go. And do not go anywhere as the battle of 5th looks to be kicking off. Abate, despite the fact that points different be damned, he wants to finish ahead of Labay at the end of this round. He knows if there was one more left in it or one more position up for grabs, the championship would be his. Never say never though. 3 minutes, 40 seconds left to go. The clock is ticking. The checkered flag is eagerly awaiting waving on the grandstand. This could be absolute cinema from these two. We want to quickly catch up with what's going on in the fight for 3rd. Just quickly crossing across here. The battle of 10th. Mason now to the advantage ahead of Dane JK. Hayden Prodger is fighting tooth and nail for podium against Archie Bowen. Puttick leading this race. It's going to be an imperial finish for Aston Martin Racing at the moment. They're eyeing up 1 and 3. Prodger's first podium looms in the balance here at the moment. Looms yonder the horizon. Puttick could very soon be a new race winner here to cap off season 1. Aston Martin are eyeing up their first win as a constructor. What does this man have to say about it then? Archie Bowen looms over the back of Hayden Prodger. He wants a podium here, but he's going to have to fight very, very hard to get it now. 2.5 minutes left to go. We are on towards our final laps of the race. Wesley Kuiper has been powerless to stop the drive of the Aston Martins around him. Has put himself in very comfortable stead away from Prodger at the cost of a race lead against Puttick, who is 11 seconds up the field. The Dutchman has thrown absolutely everything against the wall here, and to fair play of him, but it just isn't looking to be enough today. Kuiper will bring home 2nd. He'll be happy with the result. I think it will be enough to put him in 3rd in the championship. But all eyes adorn the front row. So we should quickly just check there, the 2nd row. But all eyes adorn the front row. On to that final lap goes Hayden Puttick. And it has been nothing short of a sensational drive out of him over the course of this race. Aston Martin could very well soon join the ranks of winning cars in this championship. Marks the, I think, the 4th different manufacturer to do so, alongside McLaren, BMW and Ford. Aston Martin set to become the 4th manufacturer to have won a race this season. And Hayden Puttick looks to be driver number 5. 1 minute left to go then. The checkered flag hangs in the distance for Hayden Puttock. It is a very, very tense state of affairs here from the commentary box. We do want to try and catch all of the battles going on at the moment of recording. We can see things getting close with Dane JK and James Mason. That's hanging in the balance over 10th position. Bowen and Proger very close. That could be all the way to the line between the pair of them. Abate is still dropping time to LeBay, who, with all things said and done, looks to be a champion in this season in a moment's time, though. 23 seconds to go to the checkered flag. Out of turn 12 goes Hayden Puttock. Will it be one more lap, or is it straight to the checkered flag for the Aston Martin? 10 seconds on the clock now. Down towards the line we go then. Round turn 16. I believe down to that checkered flag then. Heading across the line, joining the ranks of the race-winning drivers in this season. Hayden Puttock on a glorious drive with Aston Martin. We'll quickly catch what the state of affairs is here towards the back of the podium. Wesley Kuiper with a secure P2. They're heading to the line here. The battle of the podium boils over for one last corner. Hayden Proger is aiming at the podium, and Aston Martin 1 and 3 at the end of this championship. Archie Bowen joins him on his first drive for 4th, but let's catch on board the talk of the championship as it hangs in the balance now, and now comes to a complete close with Christian LeBay crossing the line for the last time this season is a champion in the Sunday League. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant stuff. You could not have asked of a better performance by Christian LeBay this season. The Aston Martin V12 Vantage, despite never having won a race this season, through thick and through thin, has proven time and time again its efficacy as a racer. And as too has this man entering the fray, Christian LeBay, a champion here in the Sunday League. The margins governing that win were so small, so microscopic. It was all down to the wire, and a nuclear incident for Carmelo Abate secured his run of the championship. Wesley Kuiper, though, joining the likes of Hayden Puttock, our new race winner, Hayden Proger and Archie Bowen in celebrations out of turn 1. What a drive it has been. Let's find here Hayden Puttock from the pit lane. We'll have a chat with him in a moment's time. There is your race winner, though. That being Hayden Puttock. We will try and get a word out of him, but don't expect too much, as sometimes the people can't see when we're calling them. What a drive. Bar nothing has been brilliant stuff by Aston Martin today. Aston Martin winning in the championship courtesy of that V12 Vantage right behind Puttock. LeBay is a champion in the Sunday League. It's an Aston Martin 1, 3 and 5. You could not ask for more there. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant stuff. Let's see if we can get a word then from Hayden Puttock, our race winner today, here in round 8 of the championship. Now, often it's a case where the drivers don't straight away see when we're trying to contact them, so we'll see if that pattern changes today for Hayden Puttock. We also want to try and get a word out of Noah Haggard. He's been adamant to get an interview in all season. We're going to honour his request here at the end of season 1. We just check in now to try and see if Hayden Puttock is available for a word, our race winner for today. I don't believe we've got a word in just yet. We'll try and stay in contact with Puttock to see if he's available. We'll see if he gets that message there. We'll just hold the line here to see if we can get the first of our interviewees in. That's Hayden Puttock we're trying to get in contact with. Our race winner today here in the Nurburgring, the number 99 Aston Martin. Right, well, I don't think we've got a proper word out of him there, but we'll try and get in touch in a moment's time. We'll move then swiftly on to our our next interviewee. And that, as a matter of fact, will be the first time we hear from him. That being the champion of Season 1, Christian LeBay in the Aston Martin number 119. We'll get a word out of him in a moment's time. Christian, it's Regan Clark here from TRTN. How are you feeling then? A champion in the Sunday League. It's been a brilliant, brilliant season for you.
Oh man, completely crazy right now. I would say it's insane. I was first when I joined this league. It was only for testing my skill with the V12, but now it's insane, man. I'm so happy.
Well done to you. It has been a fantastic season. You've wowed expectations from commentators, competitors, and spectators alike. You've shared in a brilliant fight with Carmelo Abate. And as the checkered flag has dropped today, you are a champion here in NLRL.
Yes, sir. So happy, man. I was on the rain. It was very hard because the track started to be drying a little bit, and we saw a line. But when I go on the line, the tires come too high on PAC, so I have to search a lot the water to keep down. But you know, I'm happy. It's 5. It's not on the podium, but I'm really happy and enjoy to race again with NLRL. And good job to everyone.
Yeah, well done to you today. It's been brilliant, mate. Honestly, over the course of this entire season, you have properly taken competition by storm. Enjoy today. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, Christian.
Thank you. Goodbye, RC.
Thank you. So that was Christian LeBay, our champion here in Season 1. We next want to get a word out of Hayden Puttock, our race winner for today. Let's see if we can get a word out of the number 99 Aston Martin, the race winner here in round 8 of the championship, I should say. Should be joining us in a moment's time here for a word. Hayden, it's Regan Clark here from TRTN. Well done today. One of 5 drivers this season to secure a race win and the first ever to win with Aston Martin. How are you feeling today out of round 8?
Yeah, not too bad, to be fair. That was I did not think that race was going to go that way, to be fair. But yeah, I haven't quite new to Will or last couple of months, and yeah, that was all the struggles I've been through races. Yeah, that one was pretty good.
Well, it was absolutely well fought by you today. Brilliant in qualifying, unparalleled on race start. Really, really do revel in that. That is a brilliant result for you today. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care. So that was Hayden Puttock, our race winner. And we want to get a word then out of someone who has been requesting an interview all season long. He's been trying to get a word in. We've had a few issues trying to get in contact with him over the last couple of rounds. That being one of our top 10, Noah Haggard from Sweden. He's been a long-time fan of TRTN and wanting to get in contact here for a chat at the end of Season 1. Let's see if we can get a word then out of Haggard to kick things off for the final proceedings of the championship. Noah, it's Regan Clark here from TRTN. We know you've been wanting to talk with us for a long, long time. It's been a great championship for you. How are you feeling then as the checkered flag drops here in round 8?
Yeah, it feels good. It feels very good. It's been a very, very good season. So I say thanks all that has been a part of this, and congrats to the champion.
It's been brilliant for you. You put on plenty of good fights. And how do you think you've done over the course of this season?
Yeah, it's been very, very good and very, very fun. Very fun drivers and the two starts where we have a massive pile up and very good drivers and battles.
Well, have a wonderful rest of your evening. It's a good result by you today and a great result over the course of the championship. Are you happy with the top 10?
Yeah, definitely. This is my best season in my career, I would say. And this race was challenging in the start. I didn't see anything, but it was super, super fun.
Well, hopefully we could expect to see more out of you in whatever seasons come next for NLRL. We're currently up in arms as to whether or not there'll be another Sunday League. I'm pretty sure with how well Season 1 has gone, would you be expecting to compete in a Season 2?
Definitely. That's needed, and we need more drivers and more viewers.
Well then, Noah, it's better late than never. It's been a pleasure having you on. I'm sure you've been waiting for this interview for a long, long time. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Yeah, thanks.
Take care.
Goodbye all.
So that wraps up the last of our interviewees today, and I must say it has been a personal pleasure of mine to have covered this season for you. It's a shame that we couldn't cover the 4th round at the Red Bull Ring. That's sort of on my account there, having been very ill over the course of that weekend. But besides that, it's been a real pleasure for me to be with you every step of the way of what has been a fantastic championship. Well fought all the way to the checkered flag here in round 8. You couldn't ask for a cooler ending than that. There's absolute cinema when championships go in this direction. And without really any further ado, that's all from us here on TRTN. Our next race will be this coming Wednesday. With VSR Phoenix, we join them for their next round, their first of their endurance rounds out of Imola in San Marino, Italy. Until then, that's all from us here on TRTN. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and take care.